Hi everyone, I'm Brian Sherwin. Osmond Parvez is also on the team, and Kevin Binder over there. And we have a quick background. We have a system up and running that we use on PDAs. We take them into meetings and classrooms and hand them out and allow people to give feedback from an emotional intelligence point of view. This is based on the theory of emotional intelligence. So they can give feedback on their mental, emotional, and physical states of being. So for example, the teacher or the leader of the meeting can see how much boredom there is in the room, how much frustration, but also how much curiosity and how much attention there is. So we thought, why not apply this idea to the internet and internet content? And the name we have is Awereo, Power of Awareness. How many of you have blogs? Okay, it's a little over half the room. And how many of you get what you consider a large amount of interaction with blog readers? That's a problem. I mean, this attention problem that was mentioned earlier. This is Bradley Horowitz from Yahoo. His numbers: 10% interact with content and 1% create content. So our idea is mood widgets. Why not make interaction more fun and more meaningful and easier as well? So that's our Mood Nano. So imagine getting to the end of a blog post and you get a widget like this. We presented this idea to someone you all know. You move those 3 sliders, hit send, and you get to see the results for the meeting, or for the number of readers on there, people who are resistant and anxious. So this is the simplest mode. What we're doing here is inviting people into, the blogger gets to see then reports like, what are my most boring posts? What are my most frustrating posts? It's a new kind of data. We call it inner data. In our work with in the corporate environment, we're trying to bring that inside information out. That's what we call it, inside feedback. But in all these blogs, all these widgets, we're inviting people into a more robust check-in, and this is the current screen for an individual check-in where they can register their mental, emotional, physical, and a 4th optional state. And so they can track that over time as well. You can track your happiness over the last 3 months, your frustration, your boredom over the last 3 months. What you can also do is share it. And this is an idea of, like, if you've got buddies, mood rings for your buddies. How are they doing? Maybe you're seeing that they're frustrated or bored themselves, and you ping them and talk to them. So the other thing you can do is check the mood of Boulder, maybe after the election. Or we can see that Boulder right now is physically uncomfortable, mentally curious, and emotionally anxious. Or how bored is America right now? This is the kind of content that we think will drive people to use it. And we can talk more about the revenue model during questions, because I think I'm running out of time.
You have another minute.
Okay. We're looking for a web developer. And so there's my contact information. And that's one of our purposes here. We're also just kind of putting the idea out there. And I wanted to share one last slide that Osmond encouraged me not to, but I actually said, is the internet emotionally retarded? Because human beings are emotional first and rational second, and that's what we're trying to bring into the business world in our corporate work. And we don't think the internet's paying enough attention to that. And in 12 years, that's the development in our emotional intelligence in the internet. I mean, you could do a Google search and return 1 billion responses in 1.3 seconds, but pretend this one's blinking. or throwing up or whatever, it's like, come on folks. So that's the idea, bring emotional intelligence to the internet.
So key point, looking for a developer, and then questions. David?
You think about this from either a political or like a mass media perspective. Like, I'm on ABC News and I'm tracking national news stories. I mean, being able to allow people from different locations to, I'm going to plug this into my website, and I've got some real-time tracking of the country based on news trends. That's pretty.
Be a lot more interesting than red state, blue state, right?
Sure.
So, yeah.
Interesting to compare the emotions based on red state, blue state.
Yeah. or after football games.
Or a poster, you know, if I'm a poster for Politico, this is, you know.
Well, we hope that that sort of content will be attractive to people. And also think about it from an advertising point of view. Imagine having not only, okay, this internet user is looking at content dealing with health, but imagine if you also get mood frustrated or mood anxious. I mean, from an advertising point of view, we're playing with the sliminess of advertising kind of equation and trying to figure out where we come down on that. But that was another idea. Yes?
Questions? Anybody else? Over here?
Seems like all the data is going to be self-reported from users. Have you guys thought about something that would measure some of these things? Like, I heard of someone working on a phone system where you call in that, you know, it's like you're getting airline reservations, and it can detect the frustration in your voice and roll you to someone.
Well, with the PDAs, when we have people checking in on a regular basis, you can create a baseline. So if you've got a sales department that's anxious, you know, their anxiety level hovers around 30%, and then you bring in a trainer to help people deal with stress, and you notice that the sales department is 20% anxious, the anxiety has gone down, you've had an effective intervention. So we think that we can start to set baselines. It's quantitative measure of qualitative experience is what we call it. So yeah, I think we can. And I think that's where things should be moving in the 21st century.
There is passive feedback devices where you can put your hand into the meter and it reads your pulse and stuff, but I mean, it just doesn't seem practical that someone's going to wear a passive feedback device and you know, search the net. But that's nothing out there. It's not going to look at something.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the rate at which you surf. Click, 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 click. Behind you. Go ahead. Sorry.
I'm dying to know
No rush.
So last question. Sorry. The revenue model.
Revenue model.
Make money.
Yeah, we had I think you saw a sponsor on the widget. We think the advertising is another one. If you know, people are willing to deal with that level of us checking on their moods, and that you could do targeted advertising for content plus mood, and then potentially the actual content of the maps and things like that once we get a critical mass of database.
So actually, I'm going to take the last question. Sorry. It looked like you presented to Brad. How'd it go?
He said, how should we put this on?
He thought it was he thought it was fun for people that like widgets, but he had a hard time seeing through to the revenue model.
Okay.
That was his kind of big concern.
Yeah. Adoption of. So, there we go.
Thanks. Great job.